In the last section, we finished up our new deck function. We're now going to move forward and start working on this deal function right here. The idea behind the deal function is that we will take an existing deck of playing cards, we'll take in a number of cards to deal out, and then we'll create a new deck of the specified size. So in practice, this is meant to simulate having like a deck of 52 cards and then dealing out a hand of 5 cards or 6 or 7 cards. If we put this into diagram format, it would look a little something like this. So we can imagine that we have a starting deck of 4 cards, and if we specify that we want to create a hand of 3 cards, I would expect to be left with a deck of 3 cards and another deck containing the one remaining card. Now, something really important to note here, even though I call this a hand of 3 cards, the underlying data type is still going to be a deck. So in both cases here, we're not changing any types, we're still working with decks, nothing is changing in that regard. We're simply really splitting the slice up into 2 smaller slices. So in order to split up the slice like that, I think that we need to understand some of the underlying mechanics of slices a little bit better. So let's talk a little bit more about slices and how they work. Okay, so right here. And let's zoom in a little bit. There we go. All right, so first off, slices, like many other languages that you are used to, are indexed from 0. So the first element inside of a slice we would refer to as existing at index of 0. Accessing individual elements within a slice takes a very familiar syntax as well. So we write out the slice name, square brackets, and then the index that we want to access. So for example, fruits at 0 would return apple, and fruits at 3 would return orange. Now for us, we specifically want to take an existing slice and kind of select a subset or a range out of that slice. Luckily, Go has a little helper built into the basic syntax of the language to help us select slices exactly like this. Okay, so right here we go. And let's zoom in on this one too. All right, so again, let's imagine that we have a slice of fruits and that there's 4 elements inside of it. We can use this fancy little syntax right here where we specify a range inside the slice. So the way that this little fancy syntax works is we still put on the square braces, and then we list out the starting index, a colon, and then an ending index. And that it can be used to select a range within an existing slice. So for example, if we wrote out fruits 0:2, that would select everything from apple to banana. And so pay close attention to the names that I put in here. The first argument or the first number inside of here is supposed to be the start index inclusive. So if we said 0, that means start at 0, including 0. But the second number is up to and not including. It's not inclusive. So if we say 0 to 2, we're not saying give me 0, 1, and 2. We're saying give me everything from 0 up to 2, but not including 2. So in other words, 0 to 2 would give us apple and banana. Now, one of the really interesting things about this kind of range syntax right here is that we can optionally leave off the numbers on either side of the colon to have Go automatically infer that we want to start from the beginning or go all the way to the end of a slice. So for example, rather than putting out 0:2, I could have written simply :2 and not put anything in front of the colon. Go would interpret this as meaning go from the very beginning of the slice and give me everything up to, but not including 2. And so that would be interpreted as 0 and 1. Likewise, I can leave off the right-hand side and only fill in the left-hand side. So if I did something like 2:, that means give me everything from index of 2 to the very end of the slice. So in this case, elements at 2 and 3, or grape and orange. And so this syntax right here goes hand in hand with the problem that we are attempting to solve. We can use this range syntax to select a subset of cards within our deck. And we can do so with something like this. So let's imagine that we've got this range of cards right here, elements 0, 1, 2, and 3. And then maybe when we call the deal function, we pass in an integer argument that specifies the number of cards that we want in our hand. To do this, we could then take our cards collection and select everything from start to the hand size. And so that would, let's say we were trying to get a hand size of 3, that would essentially turn into cards :3, which really means give me elements 0, 1, and 2. And then for the remaining cards in the deck, we can say hand size : which means give me everything from index 3 to the end of the deck, which in this case would be just the 4 of spades. So essentially, if we just put in hand size, that will automatically create a hand for us, and then everything else inside of that slice will be picked up by this second expression right here of cards hand size : Okay, so that's going to be the plan. Let's take a quick break and then start to implement it inside the next section. So I'll see you in just a minute.